Thank you, Speaker. Honorable members, I present the report of the Permanent Parliamentary Committee on Communication on the inquiry into the standard and integrity of journalism in Papua New Guinea, 2026. Mr. Speaker, I ask leave of the Parliament to make a statement in connection with the report.
Leave granted.
Mr. Speaker, I rise today to present to this Honourable House the report of the Permanent Parliamentary Committee on Communications on the parliamentary inquiry into the standard and integrity of journalism in Papua New Guinea. Mr. Speaker, in Papua New Guinea, communication has always been central in our way of life. Long before modern media, our people shared knowledge, resolved disputes, and passed on history through stories, community dialogue, and the wisdom of leaders in our diverse nation of many cultures and languages. The sharing of truthful information has always been essential for unity, peace, and understanding. Today, the media plays a similar role in our modern democracy. As free, safe, and high-quality media sector is fundamental to the democratic development and prosperity of our nation, responsible journalism informs citizens, strengthens transparency and accountability, and gives voice to communities across our provinces and districts. When journalism is conducted with integrity and professionalism, it strengthens public trust and supports good governance and national development. However, Mr. Speaker, our information environment is changing rapidly. The growth of digital technology and social media has expanded access to information and opened new opportunities for public participation. More Papua New Guineans can now communicate, share ideas, and access news through mobile phones and online platforms, including in rural and remote communities where traditional media access is limited. But these developments have also brought serious challenges. The spread of misinformation, disinformation, fake news on social media, poor quality or sensationalized reporting or bad news reporting increasingly threatens the credibility of information available to our people. False information can spread rapidly across communities, creating confusion, damaging reputations, inflaming tensions, and undermining trust in institutions. At the same time, journalists themselves face growing pressures. Many journalists reported intimidation, harassment, online abuse, particularly when covering sensitive political or public interest issues. In some cases, safety concerns and professional pressures discouraging independent reporting. These challenges highlight the importance of protecting both the safety and the editorial independence of journalists so they can carry out their work freely and responsibly. Mr. Speaker, today these developments weaken public trust in information, undermine democratic accountability, and threaten the important role that the media plays in supporting our democracy and national unity. Mr. Deputy Speaker, it is in response to these concerns that the Permanent Parliamentary Committee on Communication undertook this nationwide inquiry into the standard and integrity of journalism in Papua New Guinea. The purpose of the inquiry was to examine the current state of journalism and the broader information environment in our country, identify the key challenges affecting media standards and professional integrity, and develop practical recommendations to strengthen the sector in the national interest. Mr. Deputy Speaker, the committee conducted extensive consultation across the country to ensure that the voices of Papua New Guineans were heard. Public hearings were held across all 4 regions, Momase Islands, New Guinea Islands, and southern regions, followed by a national workshop and hearings in Port Moresby. This consultation brought together journalists, broadcasters, academic institutions, government agencies, civil society organizations, churches, youth representatives, and members of the public. Through this consultation, the committee received valuable insights from those working within the media sector as well as from communities who rely on reliable and responsible information. Mr. Deputy Speaker, the inquiry identified a number of interconnected challenges affecting both journalism and the wider information environment in Papua New Guinea. These include declining professional standards in some areas of journalism, limited training opportunities for journalists, intimidation and safety risks faced by journalists, and weak protections for independent reporting. The inquiry also highlighted the growing influence of social media and as a primary source of information where misinformation, disinformation, cyberbullying, and sensational content can spread rapidly. Stakeholders are also raised concerns about the exposure of children and young people to harmful online content, the weakening capacity of public broadcasting services in some provinces, and gaps in regulatory frameworks needed to respond effectively to digital era challenges. Mr. Deputy Speaker, in response to these findings, the committee has developed a comprehensive reform agenda comprising 40 recommendations across legislative reform, institutionalizing, strengthening, journalism, education, training, professional standards, and measures to strengthen public trust in the information environment. Among the most significant recommendations, Mr. Deputy Speaker, are proposals to modernize outdated legislation affecting the media sector, including replacing the Printers and Newspapers Act with a modern Freedom of Press Act, and establishing a Media Development Trust Fund to support independent journalism and strengthen provincial media capacity. The committee also recommends legislation to guarantee public access to government information, stronger legal protection for journalists against intimidation and obstruction, and clearer coordination between government agencies in addressing cybercrime and online threats. Mr. Deputy Speaker, recognizing the impact of digital technologies, the committee also recommends stronger governance measures for the digital information environment. These include strengthening SIM registration systems to improve accountability in mobile communication, developing legislation to address emerging risks from artificial intelligence or AI and deepfake content, and establishing a national task force to coordinate responses to misinformation and disinformation. The committee further recommends improving law enforcement capacity by establishing provincial cybercrime units and strengthening digital investigation capabilities across the country. Mr. Deputy Speaker, during the inquiry, many stakeholders expressed serious concerns about the misuse of social media platforms to spread false information, incite tension, and undermine public order. While social media remains as an important tool for communication and civic participation, the committee recognizes that stronger safeguards are needed to ensure that these platforms are used responsibly. Mr. Speaker, in this context, the committee recommends developing clear national social media protocols for government agencies and strengthening safeguards to ensure responsible use of digital platforms, particularly to protect young people from harmful online content, misinformation, and cyberbullying. These measures should support a safer digital environment while maintaining transparency, accountability, and full respect for constitutional protections for freedom of expression. Mr. Deputy Speaker, the committee also places strong emphasis on restoring journalism quality and professional standards. Recommendations include strengthening journalism education, reinstating cadet journalist programs, improving collaboration between journalism schools and media organizations, supporting professional accreditation and mechanism, and promoting responsible and balanced reporting that prioritize accuracy, verification, and the public interest. Mr. Deputy Speaker, equally important is the need to strengthen media literacy among citizens. The committee therefore recommends the development of a national digital and media literacy strategy to help citizens, especially young people, better distinguish between credible information and misleading content. Mr. Deputy Speaker, in a country as culturally diverse and geographically diverse as dispersed as Papua New Guinea, the media plays a critical role in connecting our people, sharing information across provinces and communities, and ensuring that all voices are heard in national dialogue. A strong, independent, responsible media sector contributes not only to democratic governance, but also to national unity, social stability, and informed development. The committee hopes that this report will contribute to building a more credible, professional, and resilient media sector that reflects our national values of respect, responsibility, and service to the public. Mr. Deputy Speaker, on behalf of the committee, I wish to express sincere appreciation to all individuals and organizations who contributed their time, knowledge, and perspective to this inquiry. And I would like to make special mention to Honorable Ricky Morris, Deputy Chairman, Chairman of Citizen Affairs and MP for Alatau, as a committee member. Honorable Aramis Tobang, Chairman, Public Works, Member for Kokopo. Honorable Kasmiro Ayas, Assistant Speaker, Member for Koilala. Honorable Robert Naguri, Chairman for Health Matters, Member for Bogia. Honorable Sasindra Mutuvel, Chairman for MTDP4, Member for West New Britain. Honorable Y. Rapa, Member for Western Islands. And also we would like to make special mention to the clerk and the parliamentary committee secretary who really assisted us, and to the UNDP, and which was supported by OSED, Strengthening PNG Parliamentary Project, and to the media houses, Media Council of Papua New Guinea, NBC, the National, Post Korea, TV1, Wantok newspaper, and to all other media platforms and social media influencers, and the government sector, Department of ICT, National Censorship Office, NICTA, Royal PNG Constabulary, Universities of Papua New Guinea and Divinewood, and to all our people who participate in this inquiry. Mr. Speaker, I move that the report and its recommendations be adopted.
Leader of Government Business.
Mr. Deputy Speaker, I move that the debate be adjourned and made an order of the day for a subsequent sitting.
The question is that the motion be agreed to. Those in favor say aye. Aye. Those against say no. Ayes have it. Honourable members, grievance debate. Governor for West New Britain.
Thank you, Deputy Speaker, for acknowledging the people of West New Britain. I thank the Chairman ICT Committee for his wonderful report to the Parliament after elaborate deliberations and visiting the four corners of our country. Mr. Deputy Speaker, my grievance will be related to decentralization and also the challenges as a provincial government we faces. Mr. Deputy Speaker, we keep talking about decentralization, and we make it sound as if it's very simple. Since 1995 reforms, to date, it's almost 31 years. We have been constantly talking about this decentralization, and I thank the Minister for Provincial Government and Local Level Government Affairs for his enormous effort, to introduce reforms. And we are still far behind in terms of, bringing those reforms. Mr. Deputy Speaker, it is easy for us to simply blame it on provincial government. We say all the functions are devolved: education, health, infrastructure, But, Mr. Deputy Speaker, all these functions devolved has no meaning if the funding do not follow these functions. I may sound negative, Deputy Speaker, but I'm just talking about the reality whereby if we can correct ourselves. Like in 2024, Mr. Deputy Speaker, for example, in West New Britain, it's appropriated 42.3 million kina, as a functional grant. Mr. Deputy Speaker, we call it functional grant because without that, we cannot function. That's why it's called functional grant, which covers our education. That also covers our teachers' leave fare and, some part of the teachers' wages, especially casual teachers' wages, mainly teachers' leave fare. And it also covers infrastructure. It also covers economic activity, law and justice, village court. Economic activity means we talk about those agriculture, forestry, fisheries, in the provinces. And these are functional grants mainly meant for these sectors so that various sectors within the province can perform to the expectation of our people. But imagine, Deputy Speaker, when you are appropriated for 42.3 million kina, in 2024, but you received only 16.7 million kina, that is 38%. And we had an outstanding unpaid warrant of 6 million kina, and outstanding of 19.6, that is like 25.6 million, we did not receive. That's like almost like 62%. And again, Mr. Deputy Speaker, in 2025, just last year, thankfully, we were appropriated 45.2 million kina to cover all these functional grants, various sectors. But we received 28.6 million kina, which is 63%. And 16.6 million kina is still as unpaid or outstanding. These shortfalls, Deputy Speaker, it drains our other revenues, and we have to cut our other recurrent programs. Deputy Speaker, when we talk about true decentralization, it requires reliable, full, and timely funding from Waigani, not just in appropriation or just in paper. Decentralization without funding is just an empty talk, Mr. Deputy Speaker. Every province holds enormous potential in this country, Deputy Speaker. Some provinces wants to run, some wants to walk, some wants to crawl. So we supposed to support those provinces who wants to run in terms of, bringing development, economic development. Deputy Speaker, we cannot, strain or make the provinces suffer by starving them, with these much needed functional grants. These are not even development grants, so to say. The development grant, thankfully, yes, we received our PSIP, DSIP, PSG, DSG, the 10 million kina. But these functional grants are so vital to run the entire province, especially our systems, like especially law and order, our education. Our teachers' leave fare is almost like over 20 million kina still remains as outstanding. And Deputy Speaker, these are accumulated over a period of time. So how do we really honor those teachers who have been, really doing hard work? And because these teachers' leave fare is also factored in that 10 to 12 million kina per annum, that one component is just teachers' leave fare. Others are for materials or allowances and inspectors and all those things. But these are one area where we really struggle. And that also includes, there's a small component, 2 to 3 million kina comes for public administration, which is like, it also includes like public servants' leave fare. Deputy Speaker, in order to grow this country, we do not have to grow the entire 21 provinces and ABG same time. Even if one or two provinces grows, this country will grow. Deputy Speaker, we constantly hearing, this issue. I really do not understand this misrepresentation, by the government or seniors, like, talking about ABG, talking about other provinces. Deputy Speaker, nobody wants independence except Bougainville. We are proud to be Papua New Guineans. We are part and parcel of Papua New Guinea. The entire 21 provinces, we are so proud. But how do we develop these provinces? We have to treat these 21 provinces as 21 economies, Deputy Speaker. The only way I can think of keeping this country united, stronger, is to support whichever provinces grow. Let's say if Kokopo wants to develop agriculture, so be it. Let's invest in agriculture, in tourism, in East New Britain, and we develop that Kokopo as a center for tourism, or Alata for tourism. Deputy Speaker, you go to Indonesia, many people do not even know that Bali Island is in Indonesia. Indonesia is 100% Islamic country. Whereas when you think about tourism, relaxing, all the white money are like Rangolo, Bali Tasole. Whether it's from US or from Australia, everyone can think of Bali. Likewise, when we have our own resources, God-given natural resources, God has created everything in abundance in this country, whether it's a natural beauty or whether it's resources, gold, copper, everything is in abundance. We are supposed to grow that abundance or market that abundance so we can attract the tourism to come inside. Even if one or two provinces grow, Papua New Guinea grows. That is my strongest conviction, that if we support one or two provinces to grow economically, that means we are going to grow the entire country. The 21 province is not just a province, but 21 economies. And the only way to keep our country together, our country, progress, is to recognize. If we like to copy everything from Australia next door, then why are we not copying? Don't you think, Deputy Speaker, there is some kind of agenda as to, keeping the powers in Waigani? Because we always have to, at the mercy of, secretaries, at the mercy of, ministers, we have to come and crawl here for money. We talk about bulk grant. What's the use of bulk grant? We just talk about bulk grant, but if actual money is not actually, transmitted to or given to the provinces, that bulk grant also is not going to work. So the only way is to be honest with our provinces and to see how we can develop. Even if we cannot grow as all the 21 at the same time, but at least select 2 or 3 and, build those provinces in that industry, whether be it in agriculture or tourism or whichever, they are professional at, so that we can build up that province. And by building that province, we are building Papua New Guinea. If we like to copy everything from Australia, Deputy Speaker, we should copy also the state government system. How Queensland, is doing itself. How New South Wales is, as a state, having their own rules. The education in Queensland is different from New South Wales. The economic activities are different. So we should have different, because each and every province is unique, different. And every province has its own priorities. We cannot just treat it like same formula applies for, all the 21 provinces. So, Deputy Speaker, this, I find it really difficult, because the only way I can think is like, you expect everyone to be dependent in Waigani is not going to work. And it's even more detrimental. I mean, politically, yes, it is convenient. Because here you come, for every services. But ideally, we're supposed to, give those powers and build those provinces, build that local level governments so that the service is reaching at local government level. I mean, we are creating too many different governance systems. DDAs, then initially you got what's national government, provincial government, LLG, now national government, provincial government, DDAs and LLGs. Honestly, how many, of these governments have been audited, or systems have been audited, for us to really understand the performance of each and every level of our government? Deputy Speaker, my honest and genuine appeal to this government is to genuinely transfer the powers and functions and funding to the respective, provincial governments and local level governments, so that the service can be felt by our people in those respective areas. Thank you, Deputy Speaker.
The Honourable Member for Karamui, Nomani.
Thank you, Deputy Speaker. I intend to raise, there is a question to the Minister for Foreign Affairs during question time, but due to time limitations.
Honourable Member, sorry for interrupting you. I'd just like to make a statement here to honourable members. I'm always being on the chair and observe what is always happening in the floor of Parliament on Fridays when we come to grievance debate. It is a very important time for a member to express what he feels to express to the House. So when it comes to any point that you want to raise a point of order, remember that that member has his right to express what he felt. So don't unnecessarily interject by bringing up point of order which will disturb the member when he speaks. And secondly, when you are given a chance to speak to the floor of Parliament, don't leave the House when you finish and let others to listen to others. You have to sit and listen to others also raise their grievances. So, Honourable Member, you can continue your debate.
Thank you, Mr. Deputy Speaker. I think all of us are aware. Lately, the U.S. State Department has placed PNG on what is called a visa bond program. PNG is among 12 other countries that is subject to an imposition of $15,000 US dollars on a visa to travel to the USA, as announced by the U.S. State Department. And Mr. Speaker, as we are all aware, a lot of our citizens are working and studying in the USA. I don't know if that imposition of fees is retrospective or it applies to new visas. And I received a call this morning from one of my students who is intending to apply under the Education Department STEM program to go and study in the US. And going at the current exchange rate, $15,000 is equivalent to about, US dollars would be about, in Papua New Guinea, equivalent would be about $50,000, $60,000 around there, Kina around there. And Mr. Deputy Speaker, that is a hell lot of money. And as to why the U.S. State Department placed our country among the other 12 countries on that visa bond program, that is a matter within the knowledge and the right of the U.S. government. But the concerns that I have, and perhaps a lot of you leaders here will have, and our people will have, is that for our citizens who travel to the USA, from the time of the issuance of that notice, it will become very difficult to obtain a U.S. visa. As to the class or the nature of the visa, that's a matter for the good Minister for Foreign Affairs to ascertain with his department secretary and counterpart in the U.S. Because if that restriction or ban applies, it will have devastating effect on a lot of our young people and a lot of our citizens who intend to travel to the USA under a US visa. As I've said, $15,000 US dollars, equivalent to 50 or 60,000 Kina, is a lot of money by any standard. And at this stage, I don't know. I'm not privy to, but I don't know whether our government, through the Department of Foreign Affairs, has any bilateral relationship with or agreement with the United States that some form of special considerations can be granted to especially students. Our students who wants to go and study in colleges and universities in the United States. And that's something that the good minister and our government can take it up at that level. Also, maybe when at a proper time, the good minister can also inform this House, maybe on the next sitting of Parliament, as to the restriction, the class of visas that restriction applies, and what are the avenues that are available to our citizens if they intend to apply for a U.S. travel visa, either it's business, study, or any other form of visa to the United States. Thank you.
Honourable Member for Abao.
Thank you, Deputy Speaker, for calling me and again an opportunity to express some concerns. And I'm thankful that the Prime Minister is here. I was wishing that the Minister for Provincial Affairs was here, and Minister for Planning. I want to raise two issues in this debate. First one is in response to the Honorable Governor for Manus. He asked a question to the Prime Minister with regards to the work that the urgent work that the Electoral Boundaries Commission should do to address this issue where Manus only has one electorate with 2 leaders and 2 CEOs. And therefore, he expressed that the C area is very, very big, and therefore the need for Manus to have an extra electorate. I also see, and a small population. I also noted that before the LLG elections, many new LLGs and many new wards were created. And so this mindset of asking for more electorates, more LLGs, more wards, I think as a parliament, we really need to look at it seriously. And my question is increasing more LLGs, more wards, and more electorates the right way to go for this country going forward in the next 50 years? Or should we stop and rethink the approach we need to? And so I want to offer a suggestion. Hopefully the Prime Minister and his executive team can process, particularly through the treasurer, as well as the Minister for Provincial Governments and Local Level Governments. Mr. Deputy Speaker, there is a body established called the National Economic Fiscal Commission. When that body was established, one of its core functions was to establish minimum standards of service delivery in this country. And therefore, the National Monitoring Authority was established, now taken over by Plasma. The reason why it was established was that the agencies of state, their departmental heads and their ministers would then come back with the minimum standards of service delivery, and unit costing would then be the determining factor for the allocating of resources through the budget process. However, because of politics, Mr. Deputy Speaker, we have been plucking off figures from the air without proper evidence. For example, we came up with a 10 million DSIP program, and then another 5 million infrastructure program, and another 5 million Kina for Kina program. And so we've been guessing all the time. However, the entity that the state established by law, called the National Economic Fiscal Commission, has not been allowed to come back through the Office of the Treasury, and I understand NEFC reports to the Treasurer. And so, for example, in my argument and my proposal today, Manus, it has a vast sea mesh like other maritime provinces. Oh, sorry, it's packed under the minister.
Honourable Member, point of order.
Oh, no, thank you. I just want to correct the honourable member for about that the NEFC comes under the Ministry for Rural and Economic Development, not the Treasury. Thank you.
Thank you. Point of order is in order.
Thank you, Minister. It used to be under Treasurer, but I'm glad that I've been corrected. So it's now under the Ministry of Rural Development and Implementation. And I hope, I'm glad that the Minister is here as well. And so my argument with the vast sea mass and a small population, I believe the response is not creating more electorates or more LLGs, but the response is we must now go back to the Minister, now responsible for the National Economic Fiscal Commission, and ask the question, for Manus to effectively save its people through the vast sea mess, how much does a drum of Zoom cost in Manus in order to maintain services through its atolls? And then we come back and say Manus should receive not 10 million fixed budget that like what we do, but according to its mess area, sea mess. And therefore, the budget should therefore be appropriated. Rather than us creating too many politicians, too many wards, LLGs, and therefore separating ourselves, that ward belongs there, that district belongs there, so we don't talk to each other. I think this is, to me, not the way to go. So I strongly urge the minister now responsible to undertake this important activity and come and advise the parliament. For the health sector, these are the minimum standards. For education sector, law and order, agriculture, infrastructure, province by province, maritime provinces, urban electorates, highlands provinces, electorates where no roads are covering the entire electorates. I think we really should move that way, rather than coming and asking the Electoral Boundaries Commission, which does its job every 10 years, and then try and fight for more electorates, because the more electorates you have, your province or district has more funding. I think this more money culture mindset, we have to slow it down because the resources are limited. We cannot keep on increasing our appetite for unending amount of resources. We cannot keep on expanding the budget. 2027 was promised to be a balanced budget, no more excess, no more loans. So we have to learn to live within our means, but we also have to protect our people with regards to what is the minimum number that Manus as a province and as a district needs in order to save its population, many of them out there in the atoll. So I thought, Deputy Speaker, that's the point I really want to emphasize. I think we must stop creating more electorates, more politicians, and then next time we'll be asking to expand the chamber because we don't have enough seats. I don't think that's the way to go. Second point, Deputy Speaker. What is the lesson? The question I want to pose in this grievance debate is, what is the lesson that the country should pick up from the Bougainville experience? To me, Honorable Speaker, Deputy Speaker, we must answer this question as a country, 50 years putting us behind now, next 50 years. What are the things that we must pick up as a country learning from Bougainville? My take, the country must at all costs be always united. The late Grand Chief, the Honorable Sir Michael Thomas Somare, put together a nation of over 800 different tribes. He fought for it until we put him to rest 3 years ago. That dream cannot be thrown away. We must remain all the time as a united country. Therefore, what do we do in order for us, as diverse as we are, to remain a united country? Lessons from Bougainville. One, for example, our resource laws, and I commend the Honorable Prime Minister for picking this up. We must negotiate for more take from our resources rather than less. That's the direction we must go. So our negotiating teams must sit down with the global powerful corporate entities in their boardrooms, and we negotiate so that the bulk of the benefit comes to Papua New Guinea, going to the provinces, the local level governments and districts, and the landowners. That's a direction, that's a cry from Panguna before it exploded into a 10-year crisis. And so that's the direction we have to maintain. Second.
Honorable member for
My
About.
time is up.
Your 10 minutes elapsed.
I just want to end one grievance debate apart from the 2 points, and that is, Deputy Speaker, every time we always ask for extension of question time. It's about time we increase question time from 45 minutes to 60 minutes. Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Member for Kokopo.
Thank you, Deputy Speaker. Me too, me sign up na joining all colleague members long sila grievance debate. Lo talk long law and order issue inside the country. But before me, we had one time grievances debate. Below me like congratulate him, Chairman belong ICT long good inquiry report that we present him today. Thank you, Chairman. It was not that easy for us to travel around the country to get the views of the public. And today, because of that report, through the views of the public, we've been challenged. And thank you, as we were the leaders enough to air the views and the cries of the people throughout the country. Thank you. My grievances debate regarding law and order issue, as Yuplavu Klolukim and I, first of all, let me thank the former police minister and the current minister for the initiative that we take him up long surrendering of guns throughout the country. Law and order issue before we build the infrastructure. And before we talk about building education, building infrastructure in terms of rural electrification, in terms of roads, health, Deputy Speaker, we have to sort out law and order first before YUMI building this all infrastructure, or otherwise we will all come back here and complain about the DSIP and PSIP funds that the Olivok giving me come inside long YUMI through our respective districts and the provinces. Deputy Speaker, me talk thank you long second city bla YUMI lo lay. Thank you, Chairman. Long lay city authority na Deputy Prime Minister. Lo taking lead long our addressing law and order inside lo lay. Me commend him new minister one more time for the second time that today lo Highlands o livok long surrender him all factory made gun, weapon guns inside long Kokopo, and I'll talk about Kokopo. But Bami cover him up lik long East New Britain. Inside long Kokopo today, and before I continue, I would like to step back and say thank you to the youths. To the youths, today they are surrendering the guns. Almost 300 homemade guns in Kokopo, and we are still continuing to surrender the guns. Now, by going up here long 500 to 1,000, Kokopo was not like the previous years. This type of attitude was just adopted maybe from somewhere else. 6 years ago, and some of those issues are legacy issues that we are addressing today, Deputy Speaker.
And today, Olivoklo surrendering mo semi talk 300 guns. If I talk long grenade too, if I got grenade long Kokopo. Bullets that are surrendering, and I would like to say thank you again. Because before we build him up Kokopo to become a tourism hub in Papua New Guinea, like what History Britain has been declared as a tourism hub, we need to sort out law and order issue first. And I thank this government under the Marape-Rosso government. Most of us will be complaining, but some of us are using those funds, at least for addressing some of these issues, especially law and order. But me talk come, but let me tell us, as this honorable house, that Kokopo, after 2 months, within 2 months, got one black activity come up along Kokopo. And I would like to assure this honorable house and the people of Papua New Guinea, and even our investors, that Kokopo now is ready for any investors to come into East New Britain. Deputy Speaker, after long surrendering of guns, today we are putting them into programs. Because time only surrendering gun, Deputy Speaker, only must get program. And before me continue, me like to thank you, long Governor, lo present him this la bill aste, which Kokopo tu by benefit longan. But inside lo yumi long all votes na through long urban drifts, me platu long rural as in Kokopo I operate in a dual function under the urbanization and rural development. And today, Deputy Speaker, me play work long exercise him na utilize him all ward LLG magistrate, which now they're using the power just like the National Court and District Court, to exercise the IPO. The IPO is the interim preventive order that today all the wards are signing. Those are through the ward members, the ward development committees, and also the people in the community. In the event of them, only burukim de selahoda, they can be arrested. And 1,000 kina fine, na nogat 1,000 kina fine, and we can go kalabus, long 6 pelamun, Deputy Speaker. Now thank you to all of this, because every one kind of solo, say me play exercise in finish inside long local level government, Deputy Speaker. And today, Kokopo now, Ivoklo go inside, so we are bringing back Kokopo into a peaceful place again. An environment that conducive for the visitors to come. And like what I normally said here in Parliament, that Kokopo is the most visited place in Papua New Guinea, in terms of conferences, in terms of tourists. And that is where me play walk long, receiving some funds long, and I'll be applying inside law revenue. But first thing first, through lawyer, Deputy Speaker, before me play continue, and me play like solving law and order. And I would like to say thank you to the police in East New Britain, which today now only walk long, go inside now walking marvelous with all the board members and the presidents. Law bringing back peace inside the community. And today, those people that are termed that are criminals, they are not criminals, Deputy Speaker, but they are our sons and daughters. Today only walk surrender. Only look save. Lo bonem all problem that only been walk facing. And their responsible government under the leadership of their member for Kokopo is now putting them in a space of bringing all technical schools that only work him, and in it long Koko rehabilitation, life skills training, tourism, and in it long all programs that only can keep him all busy. And today we are preparing them for the next 20 years plan for Kokopo, how we can change Kokopo into a tourism hub just like Bali. Deputy Speaker, me talk thank you Ken. Long all people blow me because only walk long arim talk. Now thank you Police Minister. My concern now is this through the Police Minister. The Colonial Act under the police, it can be changed, amended so that you may look na decentralizing power. block police, he come down now along all provinces. PPC, it can be appointed by the provincial government. And then through long appointment long all, he can go inside now long all police stations, police station commander. Today, most of the vehicle that has been given to police, it has been used on, ad hoc basis. We know like Bagarapi Mall, but we talk thank you. Sample our police vehicle, and then he walk in me plug hand inside lo district. Long hiring all cab, lo district all programs. So inside long Kokopo, Deputy Speaker, we got 4 police cars that's all inside long Kokopo district with 100 plus policemen. Now we can now walk long Halivim, long funding police, and that is our core responsibility, Deputy Speaker. We can talk about anything, but again, I will repeat this. Law and order is so paramount for us, very important to sort out the law and order issue before you may continue one time all Narapla development. One more time, I would like to say, Police Minister, thank you with this same initiative where Kokopo District Iwok Let me talk finish, Deputy Speaker. 300 homemade guns, got factory made, but sabi our people blame is matru lo building up gun, ocean all factory made.
Kokopo, 10 minutes, blow you come up in this.
Thank you, Turu. Chairman, me like talk yet, but thank you. Time blow me stop. Thank you, Turu. Deputy Speaker, lo give him time long all people lo Kokopo District. Thank you.
Awana blow oro.
Deputy Speaker, I just wanted to add a few comments during this grievance debate to a few matters that I felt I could contribute to. One, I wish to speak about the Vagrancy Act that we recently passed, which I support. I wholeheartedly support. And I thank the good governor for NCDC for bringing it in. And I thought everyone debated quite passionately, and they all had points, including the points raised by the good opposition leader. Now, he deferred from most of the arguments presented, and he did not vote for the act, or the bill, sorry. But he did have points that we must be cognizant of. That eventually we want to come to a stage where all Papua New Guineans can move around freely and do whatever they please in this country as long as it's within the laws and they're not in any way, shape, or form creating problems and breaking laws. But I wanted to make a point about how we arrived here. How did we arrive here where we are seeing this massive influx of people from rural areas, from rural areas into the urban centers? Why is this happening? Our people are leaving the districts and stations and flocking into our urban areas, looking for opportunities, better services, safety. Why? Why did this happen? When did this start? Well, there are many reasons, or there are a number of reasons, but the main reason I see is what happened after 1995. If you look at what happened previous to 1995, the districts and stations were functioning quite well. If you went to any district and station, there was water, power, law and order, health services, the police were there, public servants were diligent, they were at work, and they had funds to carry out their programs, meet their responsibilities to the people of their district or station. Funds were received directly from Waigani to maintain these districts and stations. There was a lot of economic activities. People grew their cash crops and engaged in various SMEs and businesses. Investors were encouraged to go to these districts and stations and operate. In fact, many people in many districts and stations didn't go into the urban areas, didn't go into their provincial headquarters unless they really needed to. districts and stations had a functioning works unit. They had a grader, a roller, usually a 3-ton truck, and work staff, and they maintained the roads, and the roads were great. After the 95 reforms, which were well-intended but poorly implemented, districts and stations started to crumble. The lights went out, water was shut, police services started to shrink and shrivel up, health, education. Investors did not want to go to districts and stations and operate there anymore because it was unsafe for them. Their investments were not guaranteed. So people started to look for a better life. They started to flock into the urban areas, placing an enormous burden on the very limited infrastructure and services. For instance, Port Moresby was built for just perhaps 300,000 people. We have 2 million people here easily. And it's the same for every headquarters you go. People have flocked into these areas, and they went there because of these reforms. I mean, there are those who went there because they would go there anyway, young people seeking adventure, seeking brighter lights. But the greater majority of people are flocking into urban centers because they are looking for better services for themselves and their children, opportunities, jobs, law and order. I'm very pleased to see that this government is making an effort to review these 1995 reforms, this awful effort that has created such a huge mess for all of us. When the 95 reforms were brought about, it was on the pretext of decentralizing. In fact, it greatly centralized many of the functions. And all the governors were encouraged to sign. They all agreed because they were wooed, they were lured with this idea that they would come to Parliament and represent their people. It was a great idea. And that they would now occupy 2 positions, be a governor and a regional member. And they all signed very happily, very quickly. But they didn't read the fine print, what they would give up and how it would impact on their provinces and their districts and stations. That's why it's very important that we review this. This is 30 years old, this very bad policy, and everyone's spoken about it. There has been so much studies about this. There's more than enough research papers and documents written by experts from here and elsewhere. And it has been highlighted at many governors' conferences. And I was very pleased to hear in the last conference that we had, where there was an undertaking made to revert to pre-1995 systems, an effort whereby we would at least retain some of the good that did come out of these reforms. There were some good aspects of these reforms, not many, but some. And then review the destructive consequences. Now we have the DDAs, and we have funding going to the open members, and they're expected to go out there and deliver and maintain these districts and stations. It's beyond them. We need funding that goes directly to the districts and stations so the public servants can actually maintain these districts and stations and create the conducive environment needed so that the people can operate there and live there in peace and have the services and benefits that they ought to be enjoying. So here's a suggestion that I have. One of the consequences, and it all happened around the same time, was the introduction of GST. And it created a lot of problems in itself as well, including the fact that provinces do not get 100% of the GST that they generate. So here's my suggestion, that all provinces should be getting that 100% of the GST. The current arrangement of 60-40 is ridiculous. And that additional amount that goes to the provinces should make it to the districts and stations to maintain them, to revive them. Then the open members and their DDAs can top up and assist in building the required infrastructure and bringing about the normalcy needed to rebuild these districts and stations. And the provincial governments can work hand in hand with the open members and the DDAs and bring this about. And then we will see that people will actually return to the districts and stations. They will be happy to go back there if those services are there. If you turn back the power, if you turn back the water, if you provide law and order, health services, repair the roads, they will go back. I want this to be a serious consideration. Besides reviewing these 1995 reforms, and commendations to the government for doing this, although I must say it's taking too long, and I'd like to see it be, attended to with more urgency. I would like to say that we seriously need to consider this proposal. Give 100% of the GST back to the provinces. And you don't even have to give it to the provincial governments. You can use the additional amount and give it directly back to the stations and districts as it used to be pre-1995. We rebuild those districts and stations, bring back the services that our people enjoyed, and they will return back to their districts and services. Thank you very much.
Honourable Member for Madang.
Thank you, Deputy Speaker, for the opportunity to contribute to grievance debate. I'll try and keep it short. Some of the points I wish to raise, one is we're approaching elections, and it's the election funny period where all types of individuals will exercise their right to contest. Some of these people will involve public servants. Some of these people will involve contractors who are feeding off contracts of government. Some will be individuals who are known associates of certain individuals or ministers or members who will be seen to be getting greater contracts in this period leading into elections. And I think the government needs to have a policy on this issue. Now, if you're a genuine contractor, you've always have a history of carrying out work for government services at a fair and reasonable rate and quality, no issue. But if someone just popped up yesterday and starts receiving 10 million, 20 million contract to a startup company, and it's clear his intention to contest elections and will end up using some of that money to run elections, then we need a policy on this. We also need a policy on public servants who are in unique positions where they either control money, Section 32, or control assets that they can use to their advantage or abuse in furthering their chances of winning elections. So we tried to pass a law that would ban them. Obviously, that wasn't a smart law, that wasn't well thought out, and the Supreme Court struck it down, that you said that if you contest election, that you're banned from public servant. We didn't need to ban them. We decided whether they're getting re-employed or not. So I think we need to have a policy that as we go into elections, whether 1 year out, any public servant intending to contest or to make it known in writing to the department that he intends to contest, or she. And that's it. They can continue in the office, and then the issue, they can be risk profiled. Well, now you're contesting, you live in that electorate, and you are using assets of the state. So therefore, there needs to be a policy on that. So we don't have issues of abuse. I mean, we're members of parliament. It's our mandate that we're supposed to do. But we're not in the electorate all the time, so I think the government needs to come up with a policy. And if they either resign 6 months out, they get paid out, and we don't have to ban them, we just don't employ them. If they're absolutely high-value teachers, professors, and we need them, then the government can make a decision to re-employ them based on merit. So I just want to contribute in that regard on that issue. The other issue is if the government can make a quick decision or a decision on the appointing the electoral commissioner. I don't think we should be allowing it to go on too close to the election. We need some stability, so we know who's the electoral commissioner, whoever that person is, he or she, and they can give an ample time to prepare. Because we're in April now, and 1 year out from the elections. So I understand there's an appointments committee the Prime Minister chairs. If the Prime Minister can just take note that if a decision can be brought forthwith as early as possible, so that whoever that person is can properly prepare the elections and updating of the roll and so forth. Another issue that I have, or grievance debate, is concerning tax credits, especially those for tax holidays. The most notable ones that have been awarded in previous governments has been Adi Tuna in Madang and Ramu Niko. And we haven't had any research to say whether there's been any real benefit that these tax holidays afforded to these companies. What was the real benefit? How much did they make? How much did we lose in tax? So I took the opportunity to just look into the Ramu nickel, looking at its nameplate capacity of how much cobalt and nickel it can produce, and on just general modeling, if it was to reach nameplate over the 12 years of production, potentially earn between, based on an average price, global price on all of those years, and based on a modeling of production based on nameplate, they potentially earn between 9 billion sales US, billion. Now, return on investment, I don't have those figures, but assuming a rate of return over 7 years, they could possibly be earning up to 2 billion kina, 2 billion, yeah, every year. And so they got a 10-year holiday, and then now they're planning on expanding their operations and investing in infrastructure and then using that investment as tax credit again, which I think the former IRC commissioner raised concern. So we have a lot of companies like Papua LNG, PNG, what do you call it, Mobile, PNG LNG. They didn't ask for tax holidays. They pay their tax, and they even advertise it. PNG Advantage, the last year they said they paid the PNG government 4 billion, in 2024, 4 billion in tax. We didn't have to give them a tax holiday. Their project that they invested was 19 billion US. They didn't ask for a tax holiday. Newcrest didn't ask for a tax holiday. Well, I know the Prime Minister made some comments concerning where Newcrest, and I actually looked it up, and they paid last year to the government in November 330 million tax. And in total, that was one of 3 installments, I understand. So they paid 500 million in tax. So I think we need to look at the existing companies who have a track record here, because we are not going to go to Africa and invest because we know nothing about Africa. So the question is, why would new investment come to PNG when they know nothing about PNG? Why would they invest $1 billion in a location they have no history, they have no connection to, with significant risks? They have no ability to operate in the systems that we operate in. Nothing but risk to them. But there are other companies, like Exxon, like Newmont, Newcrest, who have been here for years, who have history, that perhaps we should start discussing with how they can increase investment here. How can we make it conducive for them? Because they have a track record. Because we keep accepting overnight companies, people who have no history, we give them these tax credits, and then they go and they sell it. And then we look stupid. And then because we look stupid, no one wants to invest in a country where they've got question marks about how can you declare economic zone in the middle of a city. We are the only. Dubai does SEZ, yes, as the Prime Minister said, so does Philippines. But I can tell you what they do not do is declare an SEZ in the middle of their capital, CBD. Never. In the history of any SEZ, has someone declared it in the middle of their capital, their CBD, where someone 10 meters away is paying tax their entire life, the likes of steamships and all the other big hotels. And then you have new ones that come in 4 meters away, and they get 15-year tax credit. How do we even reconcile the reasoning in that? If they're investing in other districts where there's limited infrastructure, absolutely. If they're investing in exports, absolutely. What are we exporting out of Paga Hill? What are we exporting? Hotels? We already have hotels. We have existing hotels who've invested, pay taxes, and then a new hotel is going to get 15-year tax-free. For what? These initiatives have a negative impact on PNG as an investor location. Just something the government wants to consider thinking about. And on all these projects, can we have a system set up where members can understand? Because when they negotiate, we don't even know who's negotiating on our behalf. They go and they sit in rooms and they negotiate. And we don't know whether there's offers of kickbacks or special agreements, or these bureaucrats or supercrats end up getting work with them and setting up consultancy firms with these very same companies. If a company is saying, we're going to invest in PNG and these are my risks and this is why we're demanding this, because of the risk, then we say, okay, put it in black and white. After 5 years, if you make super profit, then we will renegotiate. But we don't. When has the last foreign investment in this country failed? They keep saying we had risk, we're going to fail. Where? When was the last mining company that failed? When was the last LNG company that failed? None of them failed. They made super profits. They became billion-dollar companies. And then they sold to another billion-dollar company. Ramoniko, potentially 800 million we might have lost in tax. 800 million. And it may possibly paid itself off 5 times over. 5 times over, paid itself off. Plus the benefit of up to 900 million. Now that's just estimate modeling of what information I could obtain. But we need to, this Parliament needs to know. So with that, thank you, Mr. Deputy Speaker.
Honourable Member for Samarai Murwa.
Deputy Speaker, for giving me this time and opportunity to contribute in this very important segment of Parliament. I'd like to raise a few issues in regards to what is happening in my district. But first and foremost, I'd like to take this time to thank the government for having recognized our efforts. District Development Authority effort in participating in one of those very important industry in the country, and that is the fishery. I'd like to thank my DDA for having the wisdom, to realize that depending on the government will take a while in terms of our DSIP and our PIP fund to come, and that them realizing that resources are within and in their midst. We don't have to look far to realize our full potential in that God has granted us resources. He created us and allowed us to live within resources that we can now utilize. For us in the Maritime District, we fully understand that the vast resource is in the sea, and that is the marine resource. So my DDA, in its wisdom, engaged in a fishing company, and that is now being given a license. And we thank NFA for granting us the license so that we can come out from where we are and to be involved in the fishing industry. I'm very grateful that towards the end of, I think, 2024, Prime Minister as well as the Minister for National Planning launched our fishing vessel, KKC, FVKKC, here in Port Moresby. And a year later, last year, Prime Minister launched our first export to Thailand. And I thank the state agencies who actually enable us to fish and also allow us to export our fish to a Thai market. And I tell you that only when we engage and involve, we'll fully realize that we don't have to continue to depend on government, but we can use our resources. We exported our fish and were able to bring in the desired US dollar into the country, into our own account, into the district's fishing account. As I speak, there is another export now in process, the second export to Thailand after a few weeks. And we're exporting to Thailand again to attract additional US dollar into the country. I thank the Prime Minister for his support, for enabling this business to continue to move forward. This is where we must now create opportunities for our people to be involved economically and to create their own wealth, rather than depend on someone else to provide for their wealth. We need to work for our own wealth. And fishing is the way forward, Deputy Speaker. Fishing is the way forward. I think if we fully utilize our people and our resources, fishing industry can transform this country's economy. Whether it be downstream processing or even small fishery programs. We were able also to secure our license for beach demur. And last year, I thank the Prime Minister, he provided us the resource, and we were the latecomers in the beach demur season. But we managed to secure or to procure or to purchase over 6 tons, and now in the process of export of steamer to the export market. And I thank those NFA and officers who are involved. I would also encourage our DDAs. We need to fully operationalize our DDA. We're not only here to deliver services, but there are provisions in the DDA Act that allow us to go into business. Let us fully operationalize the DDA Act and engage the DDA through its investment company to go out and realize its full potential using its own resources within the district, whether it be mining, tourism, fishing, agriculture, lumber, timber, whatever it is, use our DDA Act, the provisions within the DDA Act, operationalize it, and realize your economic potential. On that note, I'd like to also thank the government through its mining company, Octary Mine. Just recently, they were granted the EL 1747 on my island in Misima. I'm grateful to partner and to host that company to come back. On their return, it is a 3rd generational mine. Come back here, triple time.